Welcome, warriors, to Lean Into Your Superpower, the go-to podcast for professional and high-achieving women and those who love them, looking to elevate every aspect of their lives. We are Kathleen and Zaina, aka the Lion and the Ram, and we've built an entire podcast on harnessing and utilizing your superpower.
Our wish is for this to be a safe place where we talk about why knowing what your superpower is vital to your success, whether it be personal, professional, or financial.
So last podcast, we launched our part 2 of the multi-part series on money mindset and the middle class mentality. Mastering your money mindset is not just about wealth, it's about wielding your financial power to fuel your ambitions and dreams. And so today we're going to unveil part 3 of the money mindset series about trading time for money. What is the time value of money? We are so excited to be here with you, warriors.
So let's do our check-in. So for me, I'm going to start. For me, this topic brings up the fear of hiring. And we'll get into hiring later or building your team. But I remember when I needed help in my firm, but I had such a fear of hiring people. And it's this really weird dichotomy of having an abundance of work, but fearing that you can't afford to pay for your employees. It's this weird conflicting of fears. So for me, that's what I think of when I think of trading time for money.
Right, right. Yeah, we always try to check in. For me, it brings up more than any other topic, I think, that we've discussed, the fear of not doing it myself, right? Of like wasting money by having someone else do it, and I can do it better, and it's quicker for me to do it versus someone else. And
Right.
so why aren't I the one cleaning the house? Why aren't I the gardener and the this and the that? And that's because otherwise you're wasting money, or at least that's what I used to think. And all those idioms that we've heard growing up, like money doesn't grow on trees, and which circles back to the scarcity and abundance mindset that we have touched on in this series almost every single episode, I think.
Right. Yep.
Right. So we're going to dive into that and what really the time value of money means. I'm really excited about this series because I don't think a lot of people put in perspective how little time we have. I feel like time is the only commodity in this world.
Yes, we are not promised tomorrow.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So, success is a decision, right? What does that mean when we hear about like success being a decision?
Well, to me, the difference between successful people and those who are not successful is that successful people have made the decision to do the things that unsuccessful people won't do. And usually that boils down to discipline and consistency. So when you say that success is a decision, it's usually the decision to do what you know you need to do rather than to do the easy thing.
Right, right. So everybody listening today, they need to think, what does success mean to you? And everybody's definition could be different, right? For the longest, I thought it was about working as hard as I possibly could, doing it all myself. I've talked to you about this, Kathleen, many times. Asking for help has been the greatest area of growth for me in my wealth journey. It's something I still struggle with. And my hope is that for everybody listening, can walk away with a mindset shift, that when you trade your time for money, you cap not only your income, but also your happiness and your ability to fully utilize your superpower. And we're going to get into what that means. So, but I want to say it again so it can kind of sink in, right? Yeah. It's actually the opposite. If you're doing everything yourself, you're actually capping your income when you're trading your time for money versus trading money for your time, meaning paying other people to do the things you don't want or like to do or have, not real knowledge in, right? So you can take that precious time and put it into the highest and best use for yourself.
Yeah, this makes me think of, so my definition of success has changed over the years. So for me, success used to be tied to a monetary amount, and it was an arbitrary amount. If my firm does $1 million this year, then I'll be successful. If my team has this number of people, then I'll be successful. If my business can run without any problems, which doesn't happen, y'all, but if it can run without any problems, then I will be successful. Um, but since then, I have learned that the monetary amount that you're looking at does not equate to the quality of life that you have. So if my $1 million firm isn't profitable, then that's really not success. And if this money isn't contributing to my quality of life, then that's really not a success. And so for me, unfortunately, my thought process had to change when I was diagnosed with cancer. That really brought it home for me because I always thought, oh, I'm going to have time. I'm going to have time to do this and I'm going to have time to do that. And I was young, and to be diagnosed with cancer, an aggressive and rare form of cancer, actually, and to be told that you have like a 30% chance of surviving is really a shock to the system. And then you realize that really the truly rare and valuable commodity is your time.
Yeah,
It's your time with your family or
right.
doing the things that you love to do, helping people. Time is the most important thing.
And it's sad that you have to come to that. I'm getting emotional,
I
to that.
know.
But a lot of people do. I mean, I hate to
I
say
know.
it. I also didn't have a mindset shift until I got really sick as well. Not as
Right.
sick as you, but
Yeah.
pretty sick where I had to close down my firm.
Right.
So it's like if we can start getting ahead of this
Right.
and letting people know that, hey, you don't have to wait until something horrible happens in your
Right.
life to be like, oh shit, I need to stop trading time for money because I'm just on a hamster wheel. And
Yes.
it's actually not even benefiting you in any way. Like, obviously not physically, not happiness wise. It's also limiting your potential. If you're
Right.
like, I don't care about anything else, all I want to do is make money, it's actually limiting you from making money.
It is.
And high achieving people and women, especially often don't realize, what they don't know,
Mhm.
and how much they're actually limiting their true growth potential by
Yeah.
doing it all themselves. It's a really different
Mhm.
type of paradox that you guys have to um, wrap your brain around.
Yep.
Right?
So, Zaina, should I be giving or trading my time to what I perceive as saving money? Should I be doing that?
I mean, I don't think so, right? That's a question for everybody should ask themselves. And we'll talk you through exactly like what things you may want to keep, what things you want to, and how that kind of looks. Um, I believe, and I think you do too, Kathleen, that you can never save your way to success or wealth. We've touched on it on other episodes
Right.
before. It's a
Mhm.
different, so what people say when they say, well, I want to do it myself, I don't want to spend money on X because I'm going to do it. I know
Right.
better how to do it. I like the way I do it. I don't like anybody else doing, and
Right.
I have to spend it on money on them. What we're saying is yes, 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 because what you spend
Mhm.
your money on somebody having cleaned your house for 2 hours, right? So you don't have to do it. You can take that time and put it in your highest and best use. And those 2 hours that you could have paid, I don't know, $100 for someone to do. Now you take those 2 hours and your worth is going to be coming back to you more than $50 an hour, right? Because you're reinvesting in yourself, in your potential, or you're going after something that, maybe marketing or whatever, maybe if you're already in a business or whatever. So, you have to think of like, what is my time worth? Is it worth the $50 an hour or is it worth more? Right. So,
Mhm.
what is trading time for money? Trading time for money is when your income is directly tied to the hours you work, right?
Yes.
Time is finite, and we touched on this. Okay.
Yes.
I think everything else in this world is abundant. There's an abundant amount of money, abundant amount of clients, abundant amount of, customers, abundant amount of, all sorts of things except really time. And obviously, time and health are kind of associated. So whether you're paid $15 an hour or $500 an hour, your income is going to be limited by the number of hours you can work, period.
Yep.
Only 168 hours a week. That's it.
That's
So
it.
yeah, let me just, so I think to live more fully, you must stop trading. This is the last thing I'm going to say, hours for dollars.
Yes. Yes. So your income is always limited by your time if you're doing it all yourself.
Right.
Um, and there's this middle class mentality that we've all, well, I shouldn't say we've all heard. I was raised with that, to be, a productive member of society, you're going to work 40 to 50 hours a week, and that amount of time that you work is directly tied to how much you get paid. If you don't work, you don't get paid. And we have been ingrained to believe that if I'm working 40, 50 hours a week, regardless of what it is, then I'm a hard worker and I have a good work ethic, and that's a benefit to the community. And if I just save my money and I work hard enough, then I will be wealthy.
Right. Yeah, you'll have financial security.
Right. I'll be secure. Exactly. Which is not true.
Right.
And it's not true in any way. We all know people that have worked their whole lives 40, 50, 60-hour weeks, and we're not wealthy in any way.
And
Scrimped
have
and
nothing to
saved.
show for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Scrimped and saved. They were not big spenders and they didn't have a lot of money.
Yeah.
We also know, you think about financial security, you think, well, I have a job, I'm financially secure. You can be laid off at any time.
Right.
You can be fired at any time.
Right.
So just being tied to that, quick exchange between number of hours worked and money does not equal financial freedom, and it absolutely does not equal stability.
Right. Yeah. So this mentality, what we're saying, is limiting. It's always going to
Very.
limit you if you think, well, I'll just work harder. With only 168 hours a week, then that's, if you don't sleep, you don't eat, you don't take breaks, there's always going to be a limit to how much you can earn when you're trading time for money.
Right.
Trading, time for money, what does that look like? It's like going in early, staying, late, working weekends, working at nights, working for others, hoping for a raise. And if we work, and the mentality is the middle class mentality that you were talking about, is that if we work long enough and save enough, then we'll be lucky enough to retire at 65. But that's still limiting you. And so no matter how much work you do, there's always going to be a limit to the amount you can make, because there's a limit to the time that you have.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So, for me, and what do you think about, like, what brings out for you as far as like the fact that you're spending, that if you're spending time doing one task, and I was alluding to this with a housekeeping example,
Mm-hmm.
you're not spending time doing another task, right?
Yeah. So when I think of, spending time and versus money, when I think of doing something, I think, okay, I'm going to be doing this task at the exclusion of doing other things. So, as productive as I may feel, I'm still neglecting to do other things that I need to do because I'm doing this thing over here. So it's a very simplistic way of looking at things, but we don't look at it that way for some reason. We think, oh, I'm doing this thing here and I'm busy and I'm productive. But you really need to realize that when you're productive on this one task, you've got a whole slew of other things that you're not doing. So you're trading the productivity on those other tasks for the productivity on this one that you're doing. So if I'm at work, then I'm not spending time with my family. So I'm working on work to the exclusion of spending time with my family. Sometimes that's a trade-off we have to make, but that's the trade-off we're making. If I'm at home with my family, then that's time I'm not spending at work. So I'm focused on the task of spending time with my family. If I'm cleaning my house, I'm not working in the yard. If I'm working in the yard, I'm not doing laundry.
Right.
So there's always a trade-off. There's always something that we are choosing to do instead of something else. And there's always a cost and there's always a value.
Right. And sometimes it's easier for us to do those mundane things, because sitting there and thinking about, hey, what is my superpower from episode 1 on, finding it, that's hard. That's harder than just knowing how to do dishes and being like a robot or scrolling through your phone,
Yes.
right? So when we continuously trade time for money, we're limiting our ability to pursue our passions and grow into our superpower, because we're, not paying somebody to clean. We're doing it ourselves when we could be taking that precious time and spending it on a higher value item for us, whether it's spending time with your family or pursuing a passion or sitting there and thinking like, hey, how can I be my best and ultimate, self? Yeah. So we must be intentional
Mhm.
about the
Yes.
opportunities we pursue and focus on those that align with our superpower and are providing the most and
Mhm.
best and highest value for our skill set, right?
Right. Mhm.
Um, so if you keep trading time for money throughout our lives, we're going to just constantly always be doing for others, working,
Mhm.
working, working. When we do have the time to pursue, and then working, and then instead of, I should say, having the time to pursue the things we're passionate about,
Mhm.
um, um, if we can trade, money for time, then we have the opportunity to spend time finding, our superpowers or pursuing multiple
Mhm.
opportunity. And more importantly, and we're going to touch this maybe later on in this episode, you have to also decide, the opportunities you want to pursue. Okay, it have to be
Right.
very intentional and line, and not just, oh, I'm just going to grasp at straws. I see this a lot in my line of work.
Mhm.
Everything that comes my way, I'm going to say yes to. Well,
Right.
that's not necessarily pursuing opportunities, because they may not be aligned,
Right.
and they're actually deterring you, even if
Right.
they're good, high. Oh, I could be on the board of this and the community of that and this and that. Okay, but what is your ultimate goal,
Right. Right.
right? If
Well, and the things that you're talking about, like, are the shiny object sort of thing. And I've been the person that says yes to everything because you think, oh, I don't want to miss an opportunity. But that's the thing that you have to think about is just because it comes to you doesn't mean it's an opportunity and doesn't mean it's the right thing for you. And so you do have to kind of get centered and know what's my goal, what's my passion, is this going to serve me? And the only way that you're going to know that is by spending time with yourself and developing the superpower, what you're good at, what your mission is and what your passion is. And so when I think about when we're talking about, doing dishes or doing, vacuuming the carpet, here's the thing. I'm not putting that down. If that gives you sanity, sometimes do it. Absolutely. Because that's, some people, rage clean. And if rage cleaning is great for you, do it.
or like veg
But
out, like it's their
yeah,
downtime kind of thing.
right. Or if it helps you think through things, like sometimes when I'm doing something that's rote, it'll kind of help. It keeps my hands busy and allows my brain to kind of run through things. That's a benefit. That's not something that we're talking about. We're talking about just doing the laundry and having nothing going on up here just because the laundry needs to be done.
And hating every
That,
minute of
right.
it,
Hating every
and
minute of
wishing
it.
you weren't doing it, yet doing it anyway because you don't want to spend money on somebody else to do it.
Right. Right. So what we're saying is that time has either a cost or a value. When I think of how I spend my time, that's how I kind of break it down. I break it down into is it a cost or is it a value? So when I'm thinking of things that have a cost for me, that means I'm working on a client's matter at the exclusion of someone else's matter. I'm doing this task and I'm not spending time with my kids. That's a cost. I'm I'm not cleaning my house to do this other thing, which means now I have a messy house, or, because I don't pay someone to come clean my house. Or I'm working 12-hour days, so I'm not having a date night with my spouse. This time is coming at a cost. But when I talk about spending time on things that have a value, then I think about what I'm providing with this time. So I'm providing experience, I'm providing wisdom, I'm providing expertise, professionalism, speed in completing this task that I have, particular expertise in completing. So these are things that I think of. I'm providing a value in this time, and I'm going to trade that value for money. And this is how I think about how I bill and how I charge for my time. Um, So the time value of money is about understanding that money can grow quickly and multiply if you invest it wisely. But time, you can't do that with that.
Right. And when we're saying invested, yes, it could be like investing it, but it also could mean investing your time in something else. So
Mhm.
you're trading. So we want you to trade money for time. So we want
Mhm.
you, what we're trying to say is, I'm going to give you $100 to clean my house so I can spend it with my kids. It's, even if you're not sitting
Right,
there trying to make additional money, that's still of
right,
more higher value, right?
right,
And
right.
that should be worth it because spending time with your kids re-energizes you, and hopefully now you can, be a better person and happier and, have a closer
Right,
relation and all sorts of things. So
right.
the ultimate question is, how do we stop trading time for money?
Mhm.
For me, it always starts, the first step is mindset. And then if you know nothing of
Yes.
this podcast, it always starts there. Belief is powerful. It always starts with a belief. You must believe that trading time for money will not get you to be the best version of yourself.
Right. It
You know?
keeps you on the hamster wheel
Right.
because it's a 1-to-1 ratio.
Right.
And we'll talk in a minute about how you can leverage certain things. But if you can leverage things, then you're not getting a 1-to-1 ratio anymore. You're getting a 3-to-1. I'm putting out 1% of effort or 1 times and I'm getting 3 times back. You have to be able to look at it that way.
And if you're thinking to yourself, oh, well, I don't have the money to pay a
Mhm.
housekeeper, go back to our other episodes about,
Right.
that belief system, right? Because if you keep
Mhm.
saying you don't, that you never will.
Right.
And if you take that hour or 2 hours to pay them, doing something of higher value that can bring you in, $100 an hour, then you have the $50 to give them, right?
Right.
So
Right.
we got to, first we must change our beliefs. We have to drop the mindset that we have to trade our time for money, because we don't. We
Right.
have to open up our mind to the possibility that you don't have to do that. That spending the time, we have to spend the time kind of unlearning all those middle class sayings and
Mhm.
mentality we heard.
Mhm.
This is something I had an issue with. People saying money doesn't grow on trees. Well, it actually figuratively and literally does grow on trees. You can always make more money. We've already touched on that. Money is
Yes.
a cause, never an effect, and it always goes through the system. So
Right.
think instead about trading value. If trading time for money, if you can't wrap your brain, think about trading, like you said, Kathleen, trading value for money,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
I'm trading me doing a higher a value, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you $100 so I can do this other higher value thing
Mhm.
for me to, get to know your superpower, or what skills, knowledge, and connections. What are your
Mhm.
passions? What do you have to give the world? Maybe it is house cleaning, and that's fine. We keep talking about
Yeah.
that. But if it's not that,
Right.
take that time and do something. Don't sit there and just, veg out on, social media. Like, try, because then you're not gonna, then
Mhm.
you're gonna really feel like, why did I spend $100? I just sat here, going to
Right.
social media. That's not a higher value task, right?
Right. Yeah. So for me, what that looks like, and by the way, if cleaning houses is your superpower, please call me. I will. I could use that. That is not my superpower.
I mean, I have house
um,
cleaners where I really think that's great. They're really
yeah.
good at it. And
No, some people they excel at organization, like organizing house. Again, call me. Stuff like that. I know that is not my superpower. But when I think of trading like a high value thing, I think of, so I'm a lawyer, and what is my skill? My skill is being able to analyze a situation, being able to think about other people's motivations. Um, those are certain, being able to see things that not everybody is able to see, and help people sort of reframe their problem. That has a higher value to me than, loading the dishwasher. So if and I'm putting it back to house stuff because that's the kind of world I live in. It's either work or house.
right.
So if I can pay someone to load the dishwasher, right now it's my daughter, that's her job, is to load the dishwasher. I'm going to pay her to do that so that we can have a clean house, and I can lend the things that I'm good at to, making money. And for me, that's more of a one-to-one. So I'm leveraging the people around me to kind of build a team in order to do that.
So yeah, so it's, and maybe if it's not making money, maybe you really are want to spend more time or just be a happier person,
Yeah,
like we've already touched on the fact how scarce time is and how you spend it, whether it's making more money because that's what you want, or spending more time with your family or traveling the world. You're not going to be able to do that if you don't trade um, money, for time, right? Or
right,
value for money, right?
right,
So, but if we're talking about, your expertise and your superpower, we want to trade that to have the time to build our expertise and authority to become,
right,
the ultimate person that we can be. And we can't
right,
do that without having the time to first identify our
right.
superpower, right?
Right. And so to me, identify your superpower again was in episode 1. So, go and listen to that. Um, but quickly, those are things that are typically come easy to you. You're naturally inclined to do them. So usually that's your superpower. Those things you're just good at. And investing in those things can typically lead you to being more marketable and towards growth in whatever that field is that you want it to be. So for me, that means that, maybe I'll do a CLE in the field that I practice in so that I have more expertise and more value. Maybe for you, it would be, I should say for you, I don't mean you, Zaina, but for somebody listening, maybe it's an investment into something you can do with your kids, or something that, helps you develop whatever it is that you think is going to benefit your kids or your spouse in some way. So it's not necessarily something that you can sell. Sometimes it's something that you can use in your daily life that will, like you said, Zaina, make you happier, or help grow your relationship with your kids or your spouse. So,
um right. And you know we have to have time if we whatever we want to do, whether it's with our children or build an expertise, we have to find time around it, and then that will obviously increase our confidence, which will increase our influence in that area, and then more opportunities will come to us, right?
right, right,
So we can't, say, well, why aren't the opportunities coming? But in this area of the world that I want, or in this
mhm,
area of whatever it is in my life, I'm not happy. Why isn't happening? Why can't I get what I want? Why can't I be happy? And then you're doing all the things that you hate to do because you don't want to
right,
pay somebody $100 to do them,
right,
right? So those
yeah,
opportunities are not going to just come out of the sky. You have to be almost be, they will come if you're intentionally focused on them, and if you're working. So first you have to identify it, and then you have
hmm,
to work towards it to get those
right,
opportunities. And so you have to
hmm,
sacrifice your time, I'm sorry, your
hmm,
money, in order to get so you don't have to sacrifice your time, so that you can
right,
do it to the higher value. And this will allow you to get command a higher value and to attract opportunities, right, that you want, right?
right,
So it's first,
mm,
we have to change our beliefs. Then we have to build our expertise and authority around what we want. Then we have to start thinking about automating it, right? Automation,
mhm,
especially nowadays, is key, right?
right,
Systematizing how you acquire clients, deliver products, manage communications. That'll also save you time. You're
right,
paying to have those automatizations so so you're not the one sending every email and responding to everything, right?
right, yeah. Yeah, you can, I mean, in this day and age, with all of the automations that are in place, there's so many tools, products that you can find. So if there's something, I struggle with lots of organizational things. So as much as I can automate something that I can take something off my plate, I'm going to do that. So if there's an automation tool, just Google it and look for it, so that you can take that off of your plate. You can automate, is that a word? Automate is the word. I'm a lawyer. You can automate, scheduling things. You can automate social media posts. There's a number of things that you can automate. So look for those things. This day and age, as I said, there's so many things out there. If you need a service to help you, it's probably out there. So just go look for it, set it up for yourself.
And don't be afraid to hire someone. Automation's great, it can only
Right.
get you so far.
That's right.
Hire someone, and then delegate as much as you can to those people. And if you're
Right.
thinking, well, what can I delegate? Good starting point. Something that I do is creating 3 columns, and something that I advise my clients to do as well. Create a column of things you hate doing. Create a
Mm-hmm.
column of things you shouldn't do. You may not hate it, but it's not the highest and best use of your time to be a bookkeeper when you're an attorney. Okay.
Right.
And then a list of things that you just can't do, like you just don't know about. You don't know how to set up whatever automations, or building
Right.
a website. Okay, don't try to learn it. Okay?
No.
All right. No matter how smart you are, that still may not be the high, unless you want to be a website designer and that's your passion and your superpower.
Mhm.
Doesn't mean you should do it, right? So
Right.
the things that you start with, the things you hate doing, and get somebody else to do them. That's where you really
Right.
start. Get an assistant, get an intern,
Right.
get your
Yeah.
kid. Um, um, you know, we have to get you past what you hate doing, and that will also help you appreciate the value of your time, and
Right.
and the value of outsourcing tasks. So if you're having an issue with that,
Mhm.
this is where I would probably recommend that you start.
Well, and the things that I've found is if you hate doing something, you're not doing it. So if you really want something to get done and you hate doing it, give it to someone else because there's going to be someone who loves doing that thing you hate doing.
Right.
Always. There's always that person. You hate
Or
doing it. Yeah,
yeah,
go
or
ahead.
I was gonna say, if it gets done, you're
Yeah.
hating yourself doing it, like you're like,
Oh, you're
you know,
miserable.
you're
You're not going to
miserable
do it
too.
well. You're going to delay. You're not going to do it. And you're going to put it off. Whereas if you find someone who loves doing it, they're going to do it faster than you because they like it, and they're going to do it better because they like it. So there's always going to be that person who loves doing that thing that you hate doing. So give yourself a break and find that person that loves doing that thing. And then also be honest with yourself about the things you shouldn't do. We all have weaknesses. We all have things that we are not really that good at. Those are things you shouldn't be doing. So hand them off to someone else and be honest with yourself about things you shouldn't be doing and that you can't do.
Right,
We
right,
all have our limits.
right. And the shouldn't means you may love doing it,
Right.
and it's not the highest and best use. You maybe love entering numbers, into QuickBooks, but
Right.
that's not the highest and best. Maybe you're a CPA too. You're an attorney, in which CPA
Right.
and a financial advisor, and you have all the skill sets. That doesn't mean you should be doing it. I tell my clients, if you want, CEO wages, we can't, the business can't afford for you to do administrative tasks. If you do
Right.
administrative, I don't care who you are, if you're Bill Gates, making copies, you're going to get paid the $10 or $20 an hour to make copies. You're not going to get paid $200,000. So that
Right.
what you do has to be commensurate with the highest and best use for, your business or whatever, you're doing. And that goes for all walks of life, not just businesses, but it's just easier to understand when we're
Right.
talking about like a company, and for people to be like,
Right.
oh, I get it. I'm the
Right.
owner. I shouldn't be making copies, because if I make copies, then I should only be paying myself $10 an hour.
Right.
So we got to
Well,
fire
when I
the
think about when I think about people that like things you can't do, as the owner, you're constantly running into problems, and trying to figure out ways to fix them. But there's things that lie outside my line of expertise and that things that I can't do, I don't know how to do. I don't know how to build, let's say, a website. I don't know how to do that. So I'm not going to Google it. I'm not going to waste my time trying to find a way for me to figure out how to do it. No, I'm going to find somebody that is good at this and can take this off my plate. I'm going to tell them what I need. And then while they're working on that, I can be working on the things that I'm good at, the things that are my superpower. And now I'm leveraging that person to and their time and spending time on this thing that I'm not good at in order to spend my time on things I am good at. So that's where I was talking about using a team and using people around you that are good at these things. this person, I shouldn't be doing a website. I really can't do a website. I don't know how to build a back end and do all that sort of stuff. So I'm going to hire somebody to do that so that I can use my best, be in my best. I can't think of the words that you use, Zaina.
Highest.
Highest and best use. Thank you. Highest and best use of my time with the things I'm actually good at.
Right.
So,
So if there's any takeaway from this episode, if you guys get anything out of this, is where we focus our time is essential.
yes.
Decide where you want to spend your time. Where
Mhm.
can you put your energies to the highest and best use for you, right?
Mhm.
But based on your wants and needs and desires. And
Yeah.
you want to delegate down other tasks to the
Mhm.
least paid, most competent person or automation to do them,
Right.
right? So again, if you're doing the scanning and making the copies that you can pay someone $15 an hour to do, you can't expect to be making $150,000 a year.
Right.
Doing $15 an hour work, and that's the value of your time, and that's really
Right.
all you can help to get out of those 2 hours is $30, not 150,000 a year, whatever that amounts to, right?
Right.
And it's also
Mhm.
important when you're doing all this stuff and you're taking your time and doing it to the highest and best use and all of that, or what have you, that you take time to also reward yourself, right? Visualize
Yeah.
what you want and reward yourself when achieving. Do not hoard your money, do not save it, because spending the money is going to make you want to, oh, I like this lifestyle. I want to make more. I want to figure out how to do more of it or get more of it. And you're not limiting yourself. And if you guys are having issues or with that, I think it's the last episode that we touched, or
Mhm.
maybe the episode before that we touched in this money mindset series on that. Right.
Yeah, I mean that's the whole point of the money is it's not to keep it. It's to use it. I mean that's the whole point is to use it for what you value. So my family values experiences and adventure and things like that. So that's what we spend our money on. And so that's the point is to not be Scrooge McDuck and be sitting on a pile of money that you never use and you never want to,
Work with.
you just hoard it. I mean, what is the benefit? There is no benefit.
Because there's also a
So
fear there because you're scared
yes,
you're scared to spend it because really what you're scared of is that you'll never get it back or
right.
make.
You'll never make another dollar, which is not true. And we do address that in the previous episodes. It's just absolutely not true. But the rewarding yourself, I struggle with that. The way I was raised in my life experience before becoming a lawyer, it was always the next thing. Like if you achieved something that was great, but now on to the next. There's something else, around the corner. And so I struggle with the rewarding part. I think it's so important though. I think it's important for other people to do, and then I don't do it. So what I do is I tend to, if I achieve something, go, sit down for 15 minutes and be like, well, that was good. Okay, well, now what do I do now? What do I need to do? And it feels self-indulgent to me to enjoy the win or to enjoy the accomplishment. But I know it's really necessary for your mental health to sit there and acknowledge what you've accomplished and be proud of yourself for, overcoming or accomplishing this thing. So no matter how small the win is, you should acknowledge it and kind of sit with it for a minute and enjoy it. I heard from someone who's much smarter than me had said, when they accomplished something, they would enjoy it for the evening.
Mm,
Like just enjoy it for the evening. And then tomorrow you can say, okay, what's next? But just enjoy it for the evening and sit down and really contemplate this achievement that you've accomplished, and enjoy it. And that's part of the value of the time.
right.
You're spending that time acknowledging this thing that you've accomplished, you know.
Well, it's really hard to realize how much you've accomplished if you don't stop and look back.
It's
Right? So
true.
I mean, when you work with me, you know that I'm like, great, we met our goal. Let's stop for a second. What are the takeaways? How did we do it? Let's look back.
Right,
Where did we start? How did we get
right,
here? Because
right.
why? Because that builds in your brain. Okay, look at that. I didn't think I could do it, but I did
Mhm.
it. So when that's another hard thing I want to accomplish happens. Now you have more the resilience and
Right.
the capacity to be like, well, I can do this because I did that. If I
Right.
get through that, I can get through this. And I want to do more of that because it's worked. And the same way you have
Right.
to reflect on things that don't work too, because you don't want
Right.
to keep repeating. So it goes both ways. So it's so
Yeah.
important to reflect and not also have shame in things that don't work and try to just, okay, I don't want to look at it. I don't want, I get that a lot, I don't want to look at my numbers. I don't want to, whatever. And it's just like, but no, it's important because it is what it
Yeah.
is. There shouldn't be any emotion associated with it.
Right.
Because
Right.
if you keep your head in the sand, you're still going to have whatever ailment that you have. Doesn't mean it's going to go away. So either we
Right.
look at it and try to say, okay, where am I now? Where do I want to
Right.
be? And make an action plan together and not have all these shameful feelings. Because I see it both
Right.
ways, right? People not
Yeah.
wanting to acknowledge their accomplishments and reward themselves, and also not wanting, like, having shame and not wanting to look at, like, oh, I don't want to know, I just want
Right.
to do. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I mean, as you said, the numbers are a result of something. So if I look at the numbers and they seem off, that tells me that
Right.
I need to dig a little bit further and there's something else going on.
But
So
there's so many people that are afraid to look at the numbers because they don't want
they
to
are.
know,
Right.
or they think they know.
Yeah. No, you don't know until you look at them. You never know by your feeling. Like I'll have a feeling like we're in a horrible financial position and I'm like, we've made no money this month. And then I'll look at it and it'll be like, oh, actually we're okay. And then it'll be a month I feel like we're really cruising and I'll look at it and I'll be like, wait a minute, we're under what I thought. Why? And then I need to go in and figure out what's holding us up. So, but you can't do that until you get rid of that emotion
Right.
that's attached
It's
to
so
it.
funny to me because I can say about 90% of the time, or 9 out of 10 times, what you feel is not
Yeah.
the reality.
It's not reality at all. No. It's not.
Uh,
It's not.
all right. So,
Okay. So there's a quote from Barbara Bush, and she said, at the end of your life, you will never regret not having passed one more test, not winning one more verdict, or not closing one more deal. You will regret time not spent with a husband, a friend, a child, or a parent.
right. Or going after
I'm
your
not going to cry.
passion.
So that speaks to me
Uh-huh.
because I think about, when I had cancer, and I know I bring that up all the time. I'm throwing the cancer card down because I really didn't know if I was going to live.
Mm.
And to be confronted with your mortality is a big thing. And so in those moments you do think I'm just going to spend time with my family. I'm going to create these core memories with my children. What do I want my children to remember about me? And you start pouring into your kids because you want to teach them all these things that you want to make sure that they don't that you don't miss out on telling them, before you go. And that was, I mean, I really didn't know if I was going to live. And so for me, that just crystallizes so clearly, like we're here to connect with each other. We're here to connect first and foremost with our spouse and our children, our family. And that is the highest and best part of our use. And when you think about what you do, and at the very nature, the purpose, our purpose from everybody, I don't care what you do across the board, is always a connection with other people. So when we focus on spending our time connecting with others in any type of way that you do that, that is when I think we feel our most fulfilled.
Right. Well, connecting with others, obviously spending time with your family, or connecting with others, pursuing your passion, or getting
Yeah.
the word out, or whatever. So
Right.
this goes back, kind of circles back to what we're talking about, the opportunity. So once you believe, you're gonna trade money for time, or money for value, right?
Right.
Then it's like, okay, well, these opportunities are coming to me now. How do I decide, right, what to
Mm-hmm.
pursue? And it's not about pursuing it all, because I've seen that as so many times,
Doesn't
right?
work.
So you have to do a
Mm-hmm.
cost benefit analysis when opportunities
Yes.
come. What feeds your soul, which is something you said.
Mm-hmm.
Remembering the 80-20 rule. Don't allow 20% of your tasks, or your time take, or of your tasks rather, take up 80% of your time, right?
Yes.
Be intentional with your time. Does me pursuing this opportunity get me to where to X? So
Right.
always think of that. Okay.
Yeah.
I see it all the time where people are like, I'm on this board, I'm on this board, I'm on this board. And I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, what is your goal? Well, my goal is to make more money. Well, does being, on these boards make you more money? Well,
Right.
not really, but is there correct? Are you marketing to these people? Are you talking in front
Right.
of these people trying to get more clients? Or is it
Mhm.
just like socializing or net
Right.
socializing or whatever it is, instead of
Mhm.
versus networking? And it's like, no, then you're just wasting your time. Like really,
Yes.
at the end of the day, if your goal is
Yes.
to bring in more clients, right?
Right. Mhm.
So it may be an amazing opportunity,
Mhm.
but that doesn't necessarily mean you should be spending your time doing it. It really
Right.
relates back to what your goal. Um,
Right.
all right. So you've got to invest your money to make money, or invest, you got to, what spend money to make money. I mean, I really
Mhm.
believe in that saying.
Mhm.
Um, you got to also know what you're doing, what you're spending it on, so you can take that time. You don't spend it and just
Right.
twiddle your thumbs. Okay. I'm going to be very intentional with my time. So
Right.
something to think about.
Yes.
Um, all right. Is there anything else you want to add, Kathleen, to this before?
And spending money to make money is, as you said, it's an intentional thing. So you're not just blowing your money. You're you're being focused about what your goal is, what's your superpower, you know, um, and using your resources in order to attain those goals, and really hyper focusing on those things that you're here to do. What is your purpose? And so when you invest your money in it, you're investing in your life's purpose, and in either fulfilling that purpose or educating yourself so you can be more equipped or whatever it is. But it's that intentionality in what you're doing. You don't just want to throw your time away and wish you had it back. You really want to be intentional about it.
Yeah, so this episode is specifically designed to help, our warriors, our listeners, to shift
Mhm.
their mindset from trading time for money to creating value that transcends time constraints. Our goal is to empower you, women and men, high achieving women and men, to harness their superpower, automate their processes, and
Mhm.
focus on what truly brings you guys joy and fulfillment, all while being able to have a sustainable path, right, to financial independence. That is our goal
Mhm. Mhm.
with this particular podcast today. So we are going to post, as always, our resources in the notes section.
All right, and don't forget, warriors, to like, subscribe, and join our Facebook page and our Facebook group, where you can post all about our superpower challenge. We want to hear from you. Please reach out.
Right. And always remember, it's better to walk alone than with a crowd going in the wrong direction.
That's right. Thanks, guys. Till next time, warriors.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening. As you know, on this podcast, we don't sell anything and we have no paid advertisers. So the way that we grow our podcast is organically through you sharing our content. So if there is someone that you think could benefit from this podcast, please share it with them. And as always, like, subscribe, and follow.
Thanks, everyone.